Okay, digital minimalism is making me a better musician. Let's check it out.
Let's use upright bass from Native Instrument.
POV, your necklace breaks on stuff. If there's one source of misery in my life, it's probably this thing.
Testing.
And I don't think I'm alone in this.
This week on the Evening News, we've been reporting on internet addictions on a mom who spent 50 hours a week playing online.
50 hours a week playing an online game, dude, that's a whole full-time job.
Dad.
Like, I feel like you can only get addicted to this kind of stuff if you have enough freedom in your life to not be like homeless and shit like that.
So I decided to do something about it. In the last few weeks, I've introduced a few simple digital minimalist practices in my life that have helped me to not only break.
I was watching this video recently that I think I reacted to on my second channel. It was like a guy doing like a knockoff Venus theory thing, except he was using his all footage of like, it was all stock footage, and it was also really generic and like really hypocritical. It's funny when people try to do knockoff Venus theory videos. It doesn't work. Like, he does it really well. Like, it comes off genuine. It like having the footage of himself works really well too. Like, because I feel like the stock footage, like if you don't have the right clips, it really just like breaks the immersion. And like if you're doing something serious, it doesn't feel that serious anymore.
Of content consumption, but improve my focus and workflow, make me more intentional with my.
Yeah, the dude with the bad voiceover, the guy that sounded like he was like doing like a corpse husband thing. He's like, the downfall of music producers.
My use of technology helped me to become more creative and gain 10 pounds of pure American muscle.
All right, okay. Between him and Navi D, dude, I'm fucking scared. All right, do not. Oh man, that would be quite the team, dude. To have Navi D and Venus Theory want to kick your ass, and Ben Jordan. Oh my god, because Ben Jordan boxes. You got Ben Jordan, Navi D, and Venus Theory. Don't with them. All right, don't with them. The three of them get together, you are dead.
And yeah, I know the whole like millennial does video on digital minimalism, social media bad, her is very funny, and you're very clever for pointing that out, but just hear me out, because if you're a creator like me.
Dude, his beard and mustache is ridiculous, dude. Like, that is holy shit. He needs to tone that down, dude.
I think this shit's pretty important. Over the last few months,
if you have BWB on your side, see, he'll just pay them. He'll just pay them to make them go away. So having BWB on your side is actually a good thing. He will just pull out money and then pay them to f off.
I've noticed that I've started to develop some pretty bad habits with my relationship with technology. And I'm not sure why, but it just came to light for me that a lot of my overuse of my devices and stuff was for no real function.
Dude, imagine having 4 things open at once like this, dude. Oh my god.
Reason. For whatever reason, I just started to create too many distractions for myself from the creative process and being someone who creates things. And because of these habits I developed, I noticed that I started to just sort of gaslight myself into second guessing my ability to do anything creative. It was this really weird spot between like imposter syndrome and sort of Dunning-Kruger effect. That's at least the best I can explain it. And I'm not sure why that is, but I think it's because I started to rely on this passive intake of information as sort of this crutch, and thereby associate this mindless consumption with part of what it means to be productive as a creator. I'm sure it's a feeling you know all too well. I would be writing a song or working on a video or
I know that feeling too well when I open Reaper.
Something. I would get stuck, open YouTube for some ideas or inspiration, and then end up watching tutorials for hours on end and then just become overwhelmed instead of actually inspired. And because of this, like a lot of you, at least based on what I've seen on comments on this channel, I developed this pretty toxic line of thinking where I would find myself second guessing any idea I had or decision I would make throughout the creative process and weigh it against this imaginary like person or audience or I don't know, framework, or algorithm, or whatever you want to call it, just this faceless entity thing. And it was because there was this voice in the back of my head constantly saying something to the effect of, if you're not doing things this specific way, then you can't possibly be doing them right. And when it comes to creative work, that's a pretty dumb way to think. When it comes to getting started with digital minimalism, there's a lot of information on how to get started.
I feel like digital minimalism is just like, what information do you need? Just use your phone less, use all your less. All your electronics, use them less.
All this, and I think there's some great advice and some not so good advice, but there is also just a lot of advice. From trying a lot of this out myself over—
Okay, press 1 in the chat if we should put Subway Surfers on the screen. Should we bring back the engagement corner? Press 1. I will abide if we have enough ones. I think people are going to want the engagement coin. I'm just going to get the footage now. Please, no. There's only one person that's like, please don't fucking do that. Everyone else is just like, yes, for the love of God. Okay, so I'm going to put in that in CSGO. ADHD save, you guys are welcome. And I can put lava lamp footage behind me.
For the last few weeks, I found some things that worked and some things that just didn't. So from all of that, I wanted to just share 5 sort of rules and key ideas that I found to be most effective that I think would help you if you're looking to get started. Number 1 is creating phone-free zones. For me, this means things like,
God, it seems like such a hipster thing. This is a phone-free zone. This thing? No. Get rid of that.
when I first wake up and right before I'm about to go to bed. So no more checking your phone as soon as you wake up, and no more mindless midnight doom scrolling. My studio space is another big one, so I consciously try to avoid bringing my phone into my studio at least as much as possible so I can really focus on the work I'm doing. And of course, there is the biggest time waster of all, so don't bring your phone if you're about to go see a man about a horse.
I mean, that's true. Like, if I'm bringing, like, something to the toilet, like my phone or Nintendo Switch or something, I'm just gonna spend much more time there than I should be.
Number 2 is scheduling and being more intentional about the time you use.
It'd be super funny if you follow these rules. Like, you're like, okay, I'm not gonna bring my phone on the toilet anymore. I'm not gonna do that. But then you said you just, like, do shit, like, and go to sleep on the toilet.
So if you have to do things
I read
like
music theory on the toilet. I read sheet music on the toilet.
maybe check social media, try not to do that until at least maybe sometime in the afternoon. I would also really recommend trying a 1-week cleanse from any particularly distracting apps or websites, with the only exception being something that has to be used for work-related purposes, like when I need to make a post on Instagram or something, or go on YouTube to post a video. Number 3 is optimizing your phone for focus. Originally for this, I considered phone to something like a light phone or a dumb phone, flip phone, or just a really basic Android
What is a dumb phone?
device, because I'd seen a lot of other people do that and have some success, but that seemed like a waste of money and just contributes a lot to unnecessary electronic waste, and that seemed kinda dumb. So instead, I changed just 3 settings on my regular phone to make it more of a dumb phone. And let me tell you, this made my phone so much better in like 30 seconds. I think the first step is just remove
Okay, I'm actually kind of interested in this. How you gonna make your phone a dumb phone? Just bash the out of it.
any unnecessary or distracting apps, especially if there's already a web version available. So with something like Instagram,
This seems like way too many apps.
I could delete that and just use browser version. And because the browser version of most apps really sucks, then that kind of curbs
It's like, yeah, I saved so much time from digital minimalism, but I wasted it all making this video.
the habit pretty quickly. The next thing I really liked enabling was Do Not Disturb mode. This allows me to selectively pick which notifications
Being evicted again right now, and my girlfriend was just asking me which clothes of mine she doesn't want for her to dry.
are going to come through on my device. So in my case, it enabled calls and texts from any of my contacts. No emails, no Discord, no anything else like that. Another mode I found really helpful is focus mode. This allows me to select any particularly distracting apps, so Chrome, Discord, and YouTube in my case. And now if I try to open something like Discord, there's a pop-up that says, do you want to use this? And I can only
You're doing digital minimalism, all right? No fucking Discord.
minutes before it's going to remind me that it's time to get back to work. And I think this is great. Finally, the last one I enabled on Android was bedtime mode. This turns the whole phone black and white and removes
Is he really giving us a tutorial right now on how not to use your phone?
pretty much all of the visual eye candy that just sucks you in and keeps you attached to your phone. So I just made my phone as boring as possible, and turns out that's actually really effective. If you're an Android user, you might also consider using a minimalist launcher
Lol. Android user, am I right, guys? I have an Android.
on your device, but it's not really totally necessary. I tried a couple of these out for myself over the course of about a week, and I just didn't really get along with any of them, mostly because they didn't seem to support things that I need in terms of
Engagement needs
functionality
ads,
for my
cash in.
phone, like having a calendar on the homepage. That's something that's really important to me. So you might try it out and see if it's something that works for you. If you do want to try a minimalist launcher,
Skibbity.
I found that
That's pretty skibbity.
O Launcher and Productivity Launcher were 2 of the better ones, and they're both free. If you're like me and you're pretty dependent on your smartphone and trying to break that habit, I also found an extra layer of challenge was to treat your phone as a wired phone. So I would just leave it plugged in another room. And this really made me a lot more conscious of how much I was wanting to get up and go check it. And
All I've learned in this video is that Venus 3 has a serious problem with his phone. Need some help, pal.
Kind of made me realize how ridiculous a lot of that was. Number 4 is creating a distraction-free computer environment. This would be things like using the black and white display mode on your
Oh, the flex there, dude. Oh, the flex, the 300K subs.
computer, which I found helpful to keep me more focused when doing things like emails and
That
administrative.
wouldn't keep me focused. That would keep me fucking, I don't know, wondering if I'm like a time traveler or something. I wouldn't want to be using a black and white computer. That just sounds boring as shit.
Work or writing video scripts. Disabling the notifications is also great because, let's be real, most of them are completely useless.
True.
And I've
Yeah, I hate notifications. I never let the Discord notifications pop up. Always off.
found that browser extensions were extremely helpful. In Chrome, I got one to block websites that I found particularly distracting. I also started using an ad blocker as a custom filter for sites I would visit but wanted to minimize certain things I was seeing on them. And I also found this really great extension that takes YouTube and turns it into, well, this. Being someone who's pretty chronic.
Bro, you kind of want recommendations sometimes, though. You can't just always, I mean, I wouldn't always do that. You're going to be out of the loop.
On YouTube, I found this one in particular to be really.
I would hope most, like, all people were living like this in 1980. I don't think most of them, like, I don't think they didn't have YouTube or wireless phones. Well, maybe they have wireless phones, but they have smartphones.
Helpful. It removes all the distractions of YouTube, like the home page. It removes shorts. It removes the suggested feed. I can even remove things like stats on the video or the comments, which is great because when I would go to YouTube to look up a specific thing, I would find myself often falling down that rabbit
Yeah, sometimes that does happen to me.
hole of clicking suggested and recommended things and then kind of forgetting why I was on
It's 4 in the morning, like, oh my God, what did I get on the computer for in the first place?
it in the first place. And this really helped to make that just not happen anymore because it wasn't possible. And finally, number 5 is when it comes to
It might be good to have that on by default, but then remember you want to, like, sometimes you do want to turn it on, you know, or turn on recommendations, whatnot.
devices, question your assumptions, and consume intentionally. An example of this would be, instead of asking yourself what you're going to check Instagram for, ask yourself why you need to actually check it at all. And if you are going to do something with one of your devices, always know why you're doing it and what the specific goal is. I guess all that is to say, just remember that your digital tools are just that. They're tools to accomplish a specific task. If you've ever tried painting a wall with a hammer, you would know that you're probably doing it wrong. Even though I am sort of just getting started with my whole digital minimalist journey, I guess, I did want to share just a few things that have really stood out to me so far from this whole experiment.
Yeah, definitely, you can't do it with that attitude.
Just in the last couple weeks. I think the big thing is that if you truly want to change your behavior and habits, you need
Oh God, this shot right here is so pretentious, dude. I'm sorry, Venus 3, but this is a little too much here. With we get the flowers, we get the do the work thing. You're sitting in the corner with the, I don't know. It's too perfect, man.
to control both the metaphorical carrot and stick. If you want to stop eating chips, you just stop buying chips. I've also learned that,
Who the hell wants to stop eating chips, dude? Jesus, dude.
especially when it comes to real productivity, the idea of multitasking kind
No,
of
yeah, it
seems
doesn't
like
work.
bullshit.
Yeah, it doesn't work. You just get distracted and get less done.
I guess what I mean by this is if you're changing tasks a lot, and especially if you're
You're just getting none of those tasks done. I agree with that. I multitask sometimes too, and I'm just like, you know, I'm just doing a shitty job at all of these tasks right now.
changing the type of task you're doing, and especially if it's a different type of creative task, it's pretty hard to commit to finishing or doing a particularly good job with any one specific thing. In the words of Ron Swanson, don't half-ass two things, whole-ass one thing. Instead, I found it's a lot more
Same, dude. Instead of making one thing or a bunch of things semi-ass, I make one thing really ass.
functional to just batch your similar tasks and ideas together and also try to keep them to a schedule at least as much as reasonably possible. Because of that, I've become a lot better at understanding not only the use of my time, but also my own creative limits and how long I can realistically do some kind of creative work, which has resulted not only in improved focus when it comes to doing creative sessions, also understanding that I do have a limit of only a couple real hours of creativity in me on a given day. Being someone who works from home full-time, this is also especially helpful because it is easy to fall into that trap of working 16-hour days and then realizing you haven't actually accomplished all that much. By also continuing to develop this habit of consuming information and content and books and things more intentionally instead of passively, I find myself more actively and consciously seeking or consuming things that I find truly interesting or inspiring. And really, now that I think about it, maybe the biggest lesson of all was starting to understand that you don't have to fill all of your time all of the time. Sometimes it is okay to be bored, and sometimes it is okay to just do nothing in particular at all. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's what I wanted to share and what I wanted to talk about in this video, I guess. And I don't know, maybe it's worth ending this one on what might be one of my favorite quotes of all time about just life and the universe and everything, from Dima from Battlefield. Well, I guess technically it's Dima quoting Vladimir from Battlefield 3, but whatever. You only get to die once. Make sure it's worth it.
Okay. Interesting quote there. I mean, overall, I think it was a pretty good video. He makes some pretty good points about digital minimalism.
The Band Incorporated.